Yeah, so far we have a little over 20 people have logged in, or actually 20 devices. Sometimes people are more than one person at a device. I'm going to spotlight Jim's video so everybody sees his shop.
Hey, so Alan,
Yes, sir.
when participants come in into Zoom, do they come in by, are they listed alphabetically or just as they come in?
It's usually alphabetical, except when they speak, they move up to the top of the list.
Okay.
So if somebody's making some noise in the background, I can usually see that by looking at the participants window, and anybody can see who's in the group by clicking on the participants button at the bottom of the screen, and that way you can see who they are and whether or not they have a camera and microphone, and whether or not the camera or microphone is muted. So if you want, we can just practice something that's pretty useful, and that is using the chat window. So if people will click on the chat button at the bottom of their Zoom screen and just type in a little message with your name, and you'll see that where you type in the message, it'll say to everyone. If it says to everyone, everyone will be able to see it. If you need to have a one-on-one conversation with somebody else, you can just pull their name down from that list. So this is when you click on the chat icon at the bottom of the screen. And the reason that it's good to practice this is that once Jim starts his demonstration, in fact, I'm going to just spotlight me for a minute. That's that. By the way, I'm Alan. I do this a lot. And one of the reasons that we do this is that when Jim starts his demonstration, you can either unmute your microphone to ask a question, or you can just type your question here into the chat window, and I or Kathy, well, probably better off
Kathy,
if I do
my
it.
co-host.
Yeah, I will probably ask Jim the question for you. When Cindy Drozda did hers last Thursday to a group up in Seattle, nobody asked questions during her demo until she took a break. Some people feel it's a little rude to interrupt someone while they're speaking, but sometimes it's useful if you say, listen, I want to see the bevel on the skew that you're using or whatever you're doing. But when she opened up for questions and answers, then people were unmuting their microphone. So I'm muting everybody, but letting everybody unmute your microphones to ask questions. And then I'd appreciate it if you mute it again when you're not speaking. Make sense? So we'll use the chat for most of the questions. It makes it a little easier for Jim.
All right. There's a Jim. Please put your last name in. Lee, well, I know you're Lee Spencer, but put your last name in if you wouldn't mind. Mary Beth, iPad, put your last name in.
Right. So the way you change your name is to open the participants list, hover your mouse over your name, you'll see a rename icon, and you can rename yourself. If you're on an iPad or an iPhone or a mobile device, the same thing. Click on the participants icon, then tap your name, and you'll be given the opportunity to rename yourself. Little by little, we're up to 25. Yeah, and the only reason that I'm hosting tonight is that there's been such an influx of Zoom accounts, as you can imagine, over the last few days, that some people have been having trouble getting accounts that easily do group meetings. So it was my pleasure to offer this for Jim.
I'll reintroduce you to when we get started, Alan.
Okay.
So how's everybody doing? You all surviving your quarantines? Okay.
So far, so good.
Everybody playing in their shops?
I've been cleaning mine.
Mostly just hanging out in the sun down here in sunny Florida.
I'm just recovering from surgery, so I'm staying home.
So who's down in Florida?
John O'Brien.
Oh, hi, Jen.
Hi, Jim.
Doing some apple tree pruning and some turning today, Jim.
That's nice. Who was that?
David Barnett.
Oh, hey, David.
This is a great thing. Great
Who's
idea.
who's DMEYE? Who's DMEYE? Debbie Hatchie?
Mike's here.
All right. Who's DMEYE? Is that you?
No, should be HACHEYMD would be me.
Well, right now it looks like you're coming in under Debbie's voice, Debbie's participant ID.
Well, I had that operation that, had a
Yeah, I know. That's tough. Sitting with your legs crossed and everything.
yeah, you got it.
So, all right. So there's Debbie. Is that?
That's Mike Hatchie.
All right. Put your full name in there, Mike, would you?
Well, I'll change it for him.
Okay, change it.
Playing in the shop today. Tote
Oh.
box for my grandson.
Do you have a laser burner or?
Yeah, no, just a regular burning, Burnmaster, whatever it is. Yeah, Burnmaster.
Oh,
So-
neat.
Trace the items on and from the web, and then just outline with whatever it is, tracing paper, and then just burnt over the lines.
Is DMEYE, is that Dan Meyerhofer?
Hey, Dan Meyerhofer? Put your full name in there, would you please? So we can keep track of who's here?
Is that him?
I don't know.
In a little while, Jim, I'll do a screenshot of the names of the people that are in the session.
Yes, it is Dan Meyerhofer.
How's that look to everybody?
Looks good.
That's good and clear.
All right. How's that look? Good?
Yep.
Yeah, very good.
All right.
Yeah.
Good, clear.
In the future, Jim's demos will be even clearer. Right now, we're in standard definition because of some bandwidth restrictions. There are like 1 billion people trying to use Zoom meetings now, so they're throttling back the resolution just back to standard definition. But for this kind of stuff, this is just fine.
You can't talk
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
It's a good, clear picture with good lighting.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I try to impress upon demonstrators is, the spotlight that we typically use when we're turning, it goes beyond the dynamic range of the camera. So soft, even lighting is really what you need for these types of demos. And Jim's got it worked out pretty well on everything, I think, except for his face. He's got pretty contrasty lighting when he's on the screen. But we don't want to look at his face anyway. At least that's what he keeps telling me. Let's see. Cliff, would you mind clicking on the participants icon, and then in your, you're in there twice. In your name, would you just rename yourself? Because you will notice everybody else has a full name, except for Mike, aka Debbie, because I don't know what Mike's last name is.
Hatchie.
What is it?
Hatchie.
You want to spell that for me, if you don't mind?
H-A-T-C-H-Y, I think.
Okay, it's close enough. Well, that's what it is now. From D. Meyerhofer to everyone, if you cannot talk is because you have your microphone muted. The way you unmute your microphone is going to the lower left corner of the Zoom screen and click on the unmute button. If somebody has the participant, someone has a participant thumbnails up. All right, so there are two views here, or actually three views. If you are looking at your Zoom screen and you have Jim's lathe at the bottom of the screen and thumbnails across the top, that's just called a regular windowed view. At the upper right corner of the screen, there are two icons, one that says gallery view and one that says full screen. Don't bother going to gallery view for the moment because I'm going to keep bringing it back. If you are already in full screen, you will see that the thumbnails should be a floating window on the right side of the screen, a vertical strip of thumbnail videos, at which point you can get rid of them by if you move your mouse to the top of that vertical film strip, you'll see that there's an icon for hide thumbnail view. There's an icon for show small active speaker. And there's one for showing the film strip, and the other one is for showing the grid video. So I would, if you want to, you can just click on that hide thumbnail strip, which makes it small so it's not in the way. Does that make sense to people?
Could you run through that one more time?
Sure. Are you, if you move your mouse all the way to the upper right corner of your Zoom screen, is there an icon that says either enter full screen or exit full screen?
Yes.
Now, which one is it?
Enter full screen.
All right. Well, if you have not entered full screen, you've got thumbnails across the top.
Correct.
What you should do is enter full screen, which will just make everything larger. And now you'll have thumbnails running vertically on the right-hand side, which you could then minimize and just kind of move out of the way. And that's a nice way to do it.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. See, the more people that know how to do this, the easier it is for everybody.
You and me.
No, who's Barbara?
Oh, it's probably Barbara Lafitte. Yeah.
Okay, Jim, you're gonna hook up your wireless mic?
Yes.
Good. So I'm guessing that it was pretty painless getting into this session, just clicking on the link, and nobody had to jump through too many hoops.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can everybody hear me clearly?
I hear your dulcet tones.
Coming in very clear, Jim.
Okay. Barbara, please put your last name in.
And Barbara, the way you do that is go to the participants window, click on participants, and just hover your mouse over your name in the participants window and change it, or just have someone tell me and I'll change it for you. So the only one that hasn't put in his last name is Cliff.
Kathy took care of it. Our co-host took care of it.
See, boy, I tell you, she's got fast fingers. See, Kathy, that's what's nice about spreading the co-hosting responsibility around a little bit. To unmute your microphone, you can go to the lower left-hand corner of the Zoom screen and click on the unmute button. See, I like that little countdown timer, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's really great. When I do Club Express webinars, I have one that has a countdown. I have one that says if you can't hear the audio, join the audio, or turn on your speakers. And I've got a whole bunch of these things that just makes it, gives them some instructions. So maybe I'll publish some of those on Lucid.
So, Alan, you've got several members of our board of directors, and several of them are work on the website. Tell them a little, since we got about 5 minutes, why don't you tell them a little bit about Club Express and what you're doing with wood turning clubs, and who the company is and what they do, and in particular what you're doing with wood turning clubs.
Okay, well,
We're already doing most of it, so it may or may not be of interest, but while we have a moment, why don't you talk a little bit about it?
all right. Well, I'll just spotlight me for a moment. Whoops. Let's come over here and I'll spotlight me. Hi, I'm Alan Zenreich. People know me as Alan Z, and I'm the one that's pretty much taught almost all those that are doing remote demonstrations how to do remote demonstrations. My wife and I are wood turners here in New Jersey, hobbyist wood turners. I explained that if I was a professional wood turner, I probably wouldn't be able to afford to have wood turning as a hobby. But I'm a computer geek and all of that, and Lauren and I do demonstrations and have demonstrated at the national symposiums and SWAT and things like that. But I work for a company called Club Express, which facilitates a couple of thousand enthusiast clubs, whether they be wood turning clubs or bicycle clubs or yacht clubs or chambers of commerce, and aging in place villages, any organization that has fewer than around 3,000 members in their club. But it could be a group of 20 people, and it's an association management system that includes a website. But to me, the website's the least interesting part of it. The system should know about your membership, know when the membership is about to expire. Send out automatic renewal notices, let people pay online to renew, have a place for photo albums and discussion forums and blogs and news, and it sends out emails because it knows about, send an email to all the people on this committee, or all the people that have an interest in segmented, or all the people that are not in California. I mean, there's all sorts of ways of doing this. And Club Express is strangely very inexpensive. And there are about 10 wood turning clubs. Of the couple of thousand organizations, there are about 10 wood turning clubs. And New Jersey Woodturners and the Ohio Valley Woodturners, Badger Woodturners, Tennessee Valley just came on this week. And if you talk to the fellow who's the webmaster for Ohio Valley, and they put on a symposium every 2 years, he says you can have Club Express when you pry it from my cold dead fingers. So once you get used to using an association management system that understands the concept of membership and committees and giving people responsibilities, it's a really good thing. Because although you can have an administrator, you can say, oh, Kathy, you're also allowed to administer the photo albums, and somebody else is allowed to do member management. So you can spread the work around, and as roles change, a corporation has a CTO or a comptroller, and most organizations have this year's treasurer. Well, next year, when somebody leaves the room and they get voted in as treasurer without them knowing it, it's not a matter of, I got to give you my spreadsheets and show you the way I do things. It's a matter of saying, oh, now that person now has rights to the financials. So there's a lot of things there. If anybody wants to talk to me about it, let me know. My role at Club Express is I do virtually all of the video tutorials. There are about 80 of those. And teach webinars and things like that. Taught a webinar just yesterday on managing member engagement during the pandemic. So that's what I do. I see nothing from it. I'm not in sales or anything like that, but I've helped a bunch of wood turning clubs improve their engagement by introducing them to Club Express. Back to you.
All right, thank you.
That's the shortest I've ever done that in.
Yeah.
And I've spotlighted your video, so everybody should be looking at you, Jim.
Yeah. Rich Mac Pro, who are you? Can you fill in your last name, please?
And Gary Russell and Linda Del Monte have not yet connected to their to audio yet. And so they can't hear anything. So what I'm going to do, let me go back over. Let me come over here. And let me do this here. Title editor, come here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spotlight me again, just so that they can see that thing there. Because yeah, Gary Russell and Linda Del Monte are not connected to the audio. And so Jim and Kathy, you can see that if you scroll down to the bottom of the list. You will see, see Terry just came on. So right now it's just Linda that is not seeing it. And by the way, the reason Linda's at the bottom probably is because she put her name in with a lowercase l. Lowercase letters always come after uppercase letters. And where did she go? Did she come back up? Very good. So I can get rid of that. Okay, let me just turn off that lower third. And now I will spotlight Jim again. Cool.
All right.